Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, planning for assisted living and elder care, part 5 of our series on building a firm financial foundation for retirement. The financial advisor, Sean Humiston. Sean, we're all going to probably need it. I mean, 70% of seniors today are using some form of long-term care.
Right.
And remember, if we're going to be living longer, longevity now is the number one risk to retirement. That means we may put it off, but we're not going to probably get away from it. So some form. My goal, Steve Savant wants to be assisted home living. I don't ever want to go to a nursing home. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but that's my wish. Now, when we're talking about it, I've noticed there's 3 things on the market, and then I want you to address it. One is the traditional long-term care contracts. They're not cheap. They're hard to get. You got to be healthy to get them. If you can get them, I did when my wife and I were both healthy. We have full-blown long-term care contracts. But we have a lot of people that say, you know, Steve, if I don't use this, if I don't use my long-term care, though, it's like throwing money away. I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
So enter the idea of hybrid products. Long-term care with annuities, and we talked about this a couple segments back, and long-term care with life insurance. Now, I believe we need this. We need long-term care something. So if you can't get a full-blown plan like the one my wife and I have, which is, again, there's hardly any carriers out there that do this anymore, I think you need to look at long-term care with a hybrid annuity or a hybrid life. Now, I know there's not a right or wrong or a better or worse on this, so let's walk through the annuity first. What do you get with an annuity with a long-term care rider on it?
So traditionally, you're going to get some sort of benefit that increases what your income was already. So if you're receiving $1,000 a month, if you need long-term care or any kind of situation that arises where you're going to need cognitive care, whatever the case may be, then that income will usually increase, whether it doubles, triples, et cetera. So there's a lot of different plans out there.
Okay, so I'm 7 years old. I've been taking my annuity payment. It's been income. All of a sudden, I'm having a little hassles. I can't do 2 out of my 6 daily activities of daily living.
Yep.
And I have to call the company and say, hey, listen, I'm going to have to trigger that benefit.
Yeah.
So if my benefit was $1,000, that benefit could be $2,000, maybe $2,500, whatever, right?
Yep.
Now, how long does that benefit go? Is there a time certain?
Yeah, so most carriers or most insurance companies that underwrite these plans usually will have a period to where it won't last forever, but you might get a 5-year benefit. That's pretty common. You know, so if you at least have that increase, you'd get that for at least more than what the average life in a facility or care at home would be.
Yeah, I would say if you're in the home of your dreams and you're not going to be moving, you need to think about retrofitting your home for geriatric living. And do it now while everything's good and you have a little bit of money. But I do like the ability of still getting my $1,000, and now I'm getting an extra amount of money, and I might have to have visiting angels come to my house, take care of me once or twice a week. Things that I cannot do myself, or help me with. Think about this. How are you going to do this? My client says to me the other day, I'm just going to take care of my husband. That's what she said. I said, show me just for a second. Pick him up off that chair and move him 3 feet over to the couch. Could she do it?
No.
No. If you can't do it now, how are you going to do it at 75, 80?
Right.
So long-term care, at the minimum, at assisted home living, I think you're going to need it. Now, when I'm using annuities, do you have 3 or 4 annuities in your head that you use? Because not only is the benefit good, but I'm still getting a rate of return on the annuity.
Of course.
Okay, so talk to me about that. I'm still getting income. It's guaranteed for life. Now I have this add-on. It might be 5 years if I had to use assisted home living. Generally, that happens towards the end of life, not in the middle of generally speaking. So talk to me about that ramifications, because you sell this. Have you seen anybody? I mean, you have clients that are already doing this, that have to take their benefits now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you really have to first establish, when you mentioned in the beginning, some form of care they're going to need, right? So that could be where somebody simply breaks a hip, rehabilitates after a year, or it's somebody who's developed Alzheimer's or dementia that's going to be, maybe requiring care for years and years and years. So generally there are going to be some cutoff times with these benefits, but at least it covers the average. What do they say, about 2.4 years in a facility is the average life expectancy?
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about, and especially mother is the person that's really going to need this more than, if you're going to join annuity, I would say you need to look at this, because usually the morbidity tables on males are pretty quick. Hey, when dad finally starts going down, he goes down, right? He's very fast. I don't mean to minimize it. I'm just saying it's just statistically. But mom stays on a long time. I mean, there's a lot of evidence for human longevity on the basis of female
Women are
survivorship.
fighters.
I know. Think about this thought. We had a contract out called Second to Die. It pays on the second death. It's been around since 1990. We had less than 500 death claims, all in American carriers for the whole 20th century. Guys died on time. Mother didn't. So it's really important to think about this in a tandem thought. You know, you make your Social Security decisions based on you and your wife. You're making this decision on putting long-term care benefits on your annuity for you and your wife. Jointly held contracts at this age and this stage of our life, this should be on there.
Right.
Now, you also use this. I notice you have life insurance with this.
Yeah.
So you could do life insurance and talk about that.
So we call it asset-based planning, which I think is really the revolutionary step to what you'd mentioned earlier as the traditional type of insurance where you pay and you pay and you pay, and you may not ever use the plan. Where here now people can just take a chunk of money outside of their estate, put it into this account, and then it will spring up anywhere between 3 to possibly 5 times its value for your long-term care costs. But the beauty is, if they never need it, that money is always available to either the spouse or the heirs. So it's kind of like you're almost getting it for free by simply earmarking that chunk of money for the what if.
Now, is it better then to, if I'm a person that sees and hears the value of what you're saying and buys into it, is it better to get the life with the long-term care, or is it better to get the annuity with the long-term care?
Traditionally, you're going to see a better value with the life insurance type of program,
Why is
the
that?
asset-based
Why is
program.
that, Sean?
I think it just has to do with the mortality and the average life expectancy of an individual that's going to need it. I think the insurance companies have priced it out to the point where it makes total sense for them and for the consumer. So you got to really kind of weigh it out.
Now there's still underwriting. You know, life insurance. Last time I heard, you got to underwrite. You got to look at your life. You're going to have to maybe take an exam for some of this, right?
Not necessarily.
Oh,
a
not
lot of the
necessarily?
companies now simply will just do a 1 hour or 45-minute phone interview. I mean, they're going to ask you every question under the sun, but the way that they actually qualify these individuals is very simple, right? They test cognitiveness mostly, right? But they're not going to have you have to get your blood work done, and they're going to pull your physician statements from your doctor. That's the older style. This is kind of the newer version now, so it's actually a little bit more liberal.
Wow, I'm glad to hear that, because I think there's a lot of people that need that kind of benevolent underwriting just to get the product line. Okay, so when you're looking at this, I call in and I notice that you could buy these life insurance contracts even with more than just a long-term care benefit. You could actually be buying it for, if you had imminent death, you had a disease, you were given 24 months, 18 months to live, they'd actually take an advance on the life insurance death benefit.
Right.
Do you know things about that? Have you done that before?
Yeah.
Well, talk about that.
Yeah, so the concept here would be in the event of cognitive care or needing some sort of benefit, you can actually, what I call, rob the death benefit for that reason. Again, it's not as common as some of the other strategies, but they're definitely out there.
I also notice with life, they can throw on things like catastrophic care.
Right.
I mean, there's little things that you can add on the life contract that the great majority of American seniors are going to run into sometime in their life, especially during their retirement. Now, are these expensive policies? Am I going to pay a lot? I mean, I know the regular standalone long-term care, they're pretty expensive anyways.
Right.
But is this any cheaper than traditional contracts?
So if you compare the annuity, naturally with that annuity benefit, you're going to pay some sort of rider fee for that cost or for that benefit, right? There's going to be a cost there. But with the asset-based life insurance type of policies, you're really not getting into any expense. It's just that you have to shift some of that money to a different place, kind of out of sight, out of mind. But it's always returnable if you never need it. So really, where's the expense? Right?
Right. So most people, when you share with them, do they find this as a good secondary position because they can't pass the physical? The regular traditional long-term care is just too expensive.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an alternative that kind of gets missed. Most people just sort of dance over it. If they've been denied for traditional long-term care, they think they're going to get denied for these plans, and that's not necessarily the case. And I would also argue too that a lot of our clients will do a mixture of both the annuity-based plan and the asset-based life plans, and do a combination of the two. Because why not? Right?
Yeah, I mean, if the
More
underwriting
coverage.
allows it, why not?
Yeah.
Listen, I want to thank Sean for sharing this series on building a firm financial foundation for retirement. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas you hear on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.